I was changing Noah's diaper on top of a stack of soda crates in the restaurant storage room when I heard my sister's muffled laughter coming from the dining hall. In the middle of a conversation she thought was private, came the sentence that branded my soul like a hot knife on wet wood. "Let's be honest, Mom. Noah is a burden. Everyone thinks so. Megan's the only one still trapped in that motherly delusion." The ice cream scoop slipped from my hand and fell onto the greasy floor. My face burned, but I didn't go in. I didn't make a scene. I didn't slam any doors. I just closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and sat on the cold floor, holding my son, the burden, according to her, who fell asleep in my lap as if the world were a safe place. My name is Megan Holloway. I'm 33. I'm the mother of 8-year-old Noah, who was born with cerebral palsy and mild epilepsy. And until that night, I believed, or pretended to believe, that I still had a place in my family. A space where I didn't have to ask permission to exist. Holloway's Diner was founded by my grandfather Dean in the 1960s, right here in Beaufort, South Carolina. An old mansion turned into a home-style restaurant, with creaky wooden floors and a side porch full of rosemary and mint pots. I grew up in that kitchen, washing vegetables and copying recipes into Grandpa's notebook. My bond with that place was visceral. It was memory, roots, blood. After he died, the restaurant officially passed to our mother, Loretta. But the one who kept it running with sweat, double shifts, and a forced smile, that was me. Hannah, my younger sister, had gone to college in Atlanta. She studied marketing, came back with diplomas and arrogance, and quickly established herself as the family's new brilliant mind. She talked about brand repositioning, customer experience, minimalist aesthetics, pretty words to justify stripping away what the restaurant had always been, a haven of food and affection. Hannah came back different, prettier, colder. It seemed like every line she said had been rehearsed in front of a mirror. The kind of person who air kisses and checks the time while you speak. At first, I tried to adapt. I accepted the new menus with French names, the shiny cutlery, the standardized uniforms, even the new rules. No kids running around, no improvising dishes, no plates that looked too heavy. I smiled as I swallowed each of those little deaths, because I still believed I was part of it. But little by little, I was pushed to the back. They changed my shifts. Then I was given just one afternoon a week. They said it was to make things easier with Noah. But I knew it wasn't kindness. It was erasure. I was the weight slowing down the rise of the new Holloways. Noah has always been a calm, sensitive boy. He loved listening to jazz, drawing galaxies on printer paper, and sleeping with a little radio pressed to his ear. He knew he wasn't like the other kids, but he never complained. He just wanted to see me smile. He just wanted space to exist without being called a problem. And then came the breaking point. Or rather, the stab. The day I heard my sister call me a burden behind my back. And the silence from my mother right after. Because she was there. And she said nothing. That night, I finished my shift, cleaned the kitchen sink, packed up my uniform, and left the restaurant without looking back. I held Noah in one hand, and in the other, carried the little cake he had asked to take home. No one stopped me from leaving. No one called me back. And that hurt more than any insult. I stayed locked inside my house for 2 days, without eating, without showering, without the courage to explain to my son why he wasn't going to Mommy's job anymore. I told him, "We're gonna have some special time just for us, okay?" And he smiled, because he was made of pure love, even when the world was cruel to him. But rent wouldn't wait. The bills would come. And I already knew what came next. My mother's look that said I wasn't self-sufficient. Hannah's voice saying, "The world doesn't have patience for emotional women." So I climbed into the attic of the house I grew up in, the same one where our mum still kept boxes that smelled like childhood, and started digging around. In the bottom of an old suitcase, I found what I didn't even know I was looking for. A notebook, worn leather cover, yellowed pages, and at the top of the first page, written in Grandpa's rounded handwriting, recipes that had. In the margin, a note in pencil, "Meg, never stop cooking with your heart. The rest is just noise." I held that notebook like someone holding a lifeboat in the open sea. And there, sitting on the attic floor, with Noah drawing spaceships beside me, I made the decision that changed everything. If there was no more space for me in my family's restaurant, then I would create a new space, even if it was small, even if no one else believed. The first thing I learned when you're cast aside by your own family is that their silence weighs more than any insult. They don't need to yell at you. They just need to forget you exist. After I left the restaurant, no one called me. Not to check if I was okay. Not even to pretend they missed me. Hannah kept posting pictures on social media of the revamped storefront, with captions like, "Full rebranding, new phase, same essence." And deep in the comments, liked by 3 family accounts, my mother wrote, "The restaurant finally has the professionalism it always deserved." That killed a piece of me inside. Because as much as I knew what kind of woman she was, controlling, aesthetic, cold as marble, I still wished she'd look at me and say, "You were brave, but nothing came. Not a message, not a sign." That week, Noah's babysitter told me she couldn't watch him anymore without the overdue payments. Not out of coldness, but with pain in her eyes. Life is expensive and my son needed care I couldn't always afford. I spent sleepless nights crunching the few bills I had saved in a shoebox. The numbers didn't add up. Shame gnawed at me. That's when I went back to Grandpa's notebook. It wasn't just a collection of recipes. It was a diary of feelings, written in sugar and flour. Every page held a memory, a story. There were notes like, "This pie calmed your Aunt Rita when she lost the baby." Or, "This syrup helped your mother sleep the night your father left for the first time." I started with the simplest one, thick crust apple pie with a warm filling, dusted with cinnamon. I made it in silence, with Noah watching as if witnessing a sacred ritual. When I pulled it from the oven, the entire house smelled like an old hug. I gave a slice to Donna, the neighbor across the street. She tasted it, closed her eyes, cried. The next day, she came back with $5 and a request. "Could you make 2 more? My granddaughter's feeling down. I think this might help." And that's how it began. Pie by pie, bite by bite, I started to exist again. I made simple flyers with help from a teen girl down the street. I wrote in red ink, "Megan's Pies, made with memory and real butter." I added a phone number, a name, a symbolic price. In 3 weeks, my kitchen became a lab. The oven stayed on until 2 in the morning. Noah slept with the radio low and a blanket on the living room floor, just to stay close to my scent. I wrote orders on notebook pages, packed everything with twine and care. People I had never seen started showing up at my door. Some cried, some hugged me. One woman said, "This pie reminded me of the last time my mom smiled before going to the hospital." It was like I had discovered food could stitch up what the world had torn apart. That's when I found Tom, a man I knew from church. He had an old trailer, abandoned in a warehouse. If you can fix it up, it's yours to use. The vehicle was a rolling sardine can, but I saw potential. I spent nights sanding off rust, sticking contact paper to the walls, hand painting on the awning. Grandpa Holloway's pies. Every slice holds a memory. Noah drew a pie with wings on the side. He said it was a dessert that flies straight to people's hearts. Slowly, we became a regular stop at the Saturday market. We sold out before noon. People came from other neighborhoods just to smell it. They started taking pictures, posting in Facebook groups. The lady from the market wrote a post, while Holloway's Diner turned into a soulless cafe. The founder's forgotten daughter is bringing heart back to the town with a portable stove and a childhood recipe. That post went viral among the locals. They started calling us the trailer that hugs. Noah became a mascot. He smiled, handed out orders and said things like, "This one's for a better day." He got nicknames, gifts, love, but not everything was a celebration. One day, at the end of the market, while I packed up the empty boxes, I saw Hannah from afar standing by her car, watching. She wore heels, a beige blazer, her hair perfectly tied up. She stared at me for a few seconds, then got in her car and drove away without saying a word. Noah, beside me, asked, "Mommy, was that Aunt Hannah?" "It was. She doesn't like your pies." "Maybe. She just doesn't know what they mean." What I didn't know was that her appearance was just a sign. The next time I'd hear my sister's name would be in the hospital, and everything she built trying to erase others would come crashing down on her, like a castle made of flour. That morning, the sky over Beaufort was particularly clear, as if the whole world were breathing with me. The trailer was already set up at the Central Market, the pies laid out on a table covered with a floral cotton cloth, and Noah, wearing a new apron gifted by Mrs. Linda from the stationery shop, was arranging the drawings he made himself, sticking them onto the boxes with colourful tape. We had a line. People were waiting even before we opened the service window. And it wasn't just for the taste. It was what it all stood for. Food made with pain, with memory, with healing. A kind of affection that didn't fit on a minimalist restaurant menu with cursive font and black and white photos. A local journalist approached, eyes teary, a camera hanging from her neck. "I'm Amanda Rowe, from Southern Chronicles. People talked so much about you. I had to come see it with my own eyes." I tried to politely decline. I've never liked being in the spotlight. But she insisted. "I don't want to tell a success story. I want to tell a survival story." Those words pierced through me. She recorded. I spoke about Grandpa's notebook, the dark days, how I turned rejection into recipes and pain into baked dough. Noah appeared in the background of the video, handing a pie to an elderly woman and saying, "This one tastes like a warm hug." 2 days later, the video aired, and everything changed. The piece went viral on local networks. People started arriving from other towns. Bakery owners offered me shared kitchens. Single mother organizations invited me to give workshops. I received a handwritten letter from a 70-year-old woman that read, "You made me want to go back into the kitchen after losing my husband. Thank you for reminding me I can still nourish." But among all those messages, one caught me off guard. It was from the reception at St. Mary's Hospital. "Megan Holloway, your sister Hannah was admitted last night. Nervous breakdown. The only emergency contact on file is you." It took me a while to answer. Her name got stuck in my throat. A breakdown? Hannah, the woman who always walked a straight line, who never had a single hair out of place, who measured words like diamonds. I took Noah by the hand, and we went. When we arrived, the hospital smelled of antiseptic and frozen time. A nurse led us to her room. Hannah was there, far too thin, pale face, her eyes hollow, haunted. She was conscious, but distant. Beside her, only a small suitcase and a half-filled plastic cup of water. She looked at me, tried to smile, but couldn't. "Mom couldn't come," she said, her voice sluggish. Why was I listed as the contact? I asked, not with hostility, but with firmness. She took a while to answer. "Because, in the end, I knew you'd come." Silence. Noah climbed onto the chair next to her, pulled a crumpled drawing from his pocket, and handed it over. It was her, lying in the bed, with a blue blanket and a pie on the side table. "I made it for you. You'll get better soon," he said. Hannah cried. Not a theatrical cry, not one that seeks attention. A small, shameful cry, the kind that comes when someone finally accepts their own collapse. She held the drawing with both hands and looked at me as if seeing, for the first time, the sister she had ignored for years. "He's so different than I thought." "No, Hannah. He's exactly who he's always been. You just refuse to see it." She closed her eyes. "They told me you became a celebrity. I'm no celebrity. I just made pies when no one else was listening." We stayed there, for long minutes, surrounded by a silence that was no longer anger, but exhaustion. Before I left, I placed a little box on the hospital dresser. It was an apple pie, with a slightly burnt crust, just like Grandpa used to make. I wrote on the lid, "For when you remember what matters." Noah tugged my hand. We walked down the stairs. In the parking lot, he asked me, "Will she get better?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but we did our part." That was the day I understood. Justice is not revenge. It's when time takes care of showing who people truly are. And sometimes, justice comes in the form of a boy once called a burden, bringing comfort to the woman who once despised him. 2 weeks had passed since we left the hospital. No phone call, no message. Not from my mother, not from Hannah. The pie we brought was left there with her. So was Noah's drawing. But like everything between us, what came next remained in limbo. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. It was just ... silence. I returned to the routine. The pies, the trailer, the laughter at the market. Noah helped me pack the boxes with more precision each time. The slice has to fit just right, or it gets sad, he would say, and I followed his lead. Because he, with his 8 years and a calmness that disarmed storms, had become the compass of everything I was. One Thursday morning, my phone vibrated on the kitchen table. A message from an unknown number. She was transferred. She relapsed. She's in Ward 3B. Still no visitors. No contacts. She only asked one thing. Will the boy come back? I stood still for a while, staring at the screen, feeling a mix of sadness and justice. Hannah, the woman who drove me out of the restaurant, who joined my mother in making me invisible, who called my son a burden, was now alone, fragile, asking about him, not about me, about him. Mom? Noah called from the hallway. Yes? Can we take more pie to the cloud? I didn't explain. I just nodded. That afternoon, we walked back into the hospital. The smell was the same, the halls unchanged, but something in me was more grounded, as if every step echoed an answer that time had finally built the courage to give me. The receptionist led us to the new room. The psychiatric ward was quieter. No TV, no flowers, no open windows, just beds, medications, and an absence of color. Hannah was sitting on the bed, her back to the door. Her hair was shorter now, still damp. She wore a sweatshirt that clearly wasn't hers. Hi, I said softly. She turned slowly. When she saw Noah, her eyes welled up. You came back ... double quotes. He nodded. He handed her a small box with a slice of pie and a new drawing on the lid. 2 chairs side by side, a pie between them, and a balloon that read, "Can we talk? This one tastes like a good day," he explained. Hannah held the box like something sacred. You ... thought of me? Yes, Noah replied, because anyone can be sad sometimes. But no one deserves to be sad alone. She broke down. She cried without hiding, without shame. She let her face soften, let her heart finally surrender. I stood by the door, watching, not interfering, not controlling. A nurse appeared. She gently pulled me aside. You're the only one who's come. No other visitor on file. Not even her mother. Nothing. The woman looked at me with serious eyes, nearly teary. Is the boy hers? No, he's mine. Oh, a pause. He's special, she said. Yes. She said he was a burden, and today ... He's the only one who visits her in the hospital. The nurse nodded, almost in a gesture of reverence. The world turns, sometimes silently, but it turns. We left the room without fanfare. Hannah stayed, holding the box in both hands, staring at the drawing. Noah waved before gently closing the door. In the car, the silence between us was light. Words weren't necessary. Noah held my hand. Will she still be sad? Maybe, but now she knows someone cares. Even after what she said. Yes, because love sometimes is just not turning your back. That night, I returned to Grandpa's notebook. I read the last page, one I hadn't noticed before. The handwriting was shaky, but steady. Time heals what pride destroys, but only if there's enough tenderness to wait. I closed the notebook carefully, turned off the living room light, and before heading upstairs, I left the last batch cooling on the counter. It was a new recipe, one I'd created. Apple pie with pecans and a zest of hope. And that night, while Noah slept with the radio playing and a new drawing on his knitstand, I understood. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't come with words. It comes with presence. And sometimes the greatest punishment isn't being hated, It's being forgiven by the one you once called a burden. Some people think stories end when pain is overcome. Others believe the ending comes with forgiveness. But sometimes, the real ending is when you realize you no longer need apologies, because life has already spoken louder than any words. After that day at the hospital, we never saw Hannah again. Not because we cut ties, but because she never reached out. The only message I got came a week later. No signature, no punctuation. Tell him I kept the drawing. That was enough. I carried on with my life. The trailer was thriving. We had lines almost every day. I was invited to speak at a public school about resilience and flavor. After the talk, a teacher hugged me and said, "You do more than feed. You give people back their dignity with flour and a slow flame." Noah remained the heart of it all. He started writing little phrases on the boxes. For when the day feels heavy, this slice likes to give comfort. If it's tough, warm it up and take a deep breath. With every smiling customer, with every heartfelt order, I thought about how easy it would have been to become bitter. How tempting it was to give the world back what it had given me. But I chose a different path. The path of offering pie to those who only gave you thorns and walking away without expecting applause. Months later, on a cold autumn morning, a thin young man with glasses came to visit, holding an envelope. He said he was a legal intern at a firm in Savannah. His mother had eaten one of my pies at a funeral. She cried, told the story. "Hannah Holloway named you as curator of your grandfather's restaurant records. There's a letter included." I opened the envelope. Inside, a folded piece of paper, the handwriting shaky. "I don't want the restaurant back. I just want it to have soul again. I know you know what that means. The boy has it in his eyes, and so do you. Forgive me if I didn't know how to love the right way." I signed the documents. No celebration, no announcement. I took the keys to the old Holloway's diner and walked to the front door like someone returning to a place stolen by time. It was closed, abandoned inside, as if it had been waiting for me. I ran my fingers along the walls, the wooden counter, the windows my grandfather had installed with white trim. Noah came in right behind me. "Is this the pancake place?" It was. "And now?" "Now it can be whatever we want it to be." We started cleaning it all the following Saturday. Neighbor by neighbor showed up to help. Donna brought flowers. The florist donated fresh seedlings. Even the old butcher, who once ignored me, brought boxes of ingredients. When we reopened, there was no ribbon cutting. Just pies served, hot coffee, and a framed embroidery at the entrance that read, "Here, no one is a burden. Here, everyone belongs." A few months later, while Noah was drawing at the counter, a woman in a simple dress walked through the door, in silence. She spoke to no one, looked around, touched the framed quote with her fingertips, sat quietly in a corner, and ordered a slice of the day's pie. It was Hannah. We didn't exchange words, just glances. And when she finished, she stood up, left the payment on the table, with something on top. Noah's drawing, laminated, preserved, untouched. On the back, in tiny handwriting, he wasn't a burden. He was the way back. She left through the same door she once entered as a manager. Now, she left as just someone who finally understood the weight of her own choices. I stood there, behind the counter, holding the drawing. No tears, no trembling, just full. Noah tugged on the hem of my apron. "Is she still sad?" "I don't think so anymore. So can I draw another one?" I smiled. "Of course, love, but make one with a big sun." That night, as we closed the doors, I felt like the story had come to an end. Not like a fairy tale, but like a full memory, one we hold gently, knowing it hurt, but also knowing it built us. Because in the end, what remains is this: you called my son a burden, and today, he's the only one who visits you in the hospital.